We're coming to you from the Radford Studio Center lot in Studio City, right over the hill from Hollywood. This is the place where dreams are made, legends are born. Hello and welcome to The Lot. I'm Suzanne Marquez. A host of music superstars toasted a music legend in Hollywood this week as Willie Nelson turned 90. The Lot's Lauren Posen was at the star-studded celebration at the Hollywood Bowl.
Iconic, the original outlaw. For decades, Willie Nelson has inspired generations. And on his milestone birthday is a star-studded bash here at the Hollywood Bowl.
Happy birthday to you.
The original outlaw of country music, Willie Nelson, is 90.
I mean, it's wonderful. He's 90 years old. I mean, I'm only 83, so he's my hero.
To celebrate, a two-day concert at the Hollywood Bowl. Long story short, Willie Nelson 90. Live Nation Hewitt Silva is behind the big bash. Lyle Lovett kicked off the night performing to the sold-out crowd.
How things go.
It's that strength country music royalty like Rosanne Cash got to see early on. She says her late father, Johnny Cash, and Willie were best friends.
Well, musicians generally support each other. It's not like acting. Actors, you know. Musicians, it is family.
The sold-out crowd of 17,000 people were treated to all-star performances with country superstars.
It's awesome to sing with Willie. I mean, he's a living legend. He's a Texas hero, you know, so it's just every time you get to be in his presence or honor him in any way, it means the world.
Willie also joined in on the fun, singing Live Forever with surprise guest Keith Richards.
I'm gonna catch some Marvin now.
What he did was he stayed true to himself through all these years. I think that's why people find him so believable, because he's followed his heart. So something like that, or you see the legalization of marijuana that's totally normal to our currently, but that was like the craziest thing to do.
While for others, his music became their lifeline.
When I moved to New York from Texas, I was homesick, and all I could do was listen to Red-Headed Stranger.
Willie has said, a good song is nothing but three chords and the truth. It's a formula that's done him well, now 6 decades into his career. He'll be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame later this year.
On the music side and the songwriting, that is so powerful, what he's done, what he's achieved, and just on his human side of him. I mean, he gives really good advice, and he's hilarious.
And Willie Nelson is not slowing down. He's set to go on tour this June. For The Lot, I'm Lauren Posen.
And on the opposite coast, it was a who's who in fashion and entertainment at the Met Gala. But for those of us who didn't get an invite, a new exhibit just opened to the public where you can catch a glimpse of some of Karl Lagerfeld's masterpieces. And it all raises money for the Museum of Modern Art's Costume Institute. It is sensory overload in a good way. The Met's new exhibition shines a light on Karl Lagerfeld, 200 pieces he created over the course of his unprecedented 65-year career.
He was a chameleon. He worked for Fendi, he worked for Chanel, his own label, Chloe, before that, Balmain and Patou. So an enormous body of work.
This photo captures the fashion genius at work. The layout is anchored in 2 lines, one straight, a nod to his minimalism, the other his more romantic side. A delicate horsehair overlay here, hand-painted ceramic flowers inspired by a birdcage here.
And they're constantly dueling like a boxing match. And you have these sort of what we're calling explosions, these moments of convergence where these dualities come together.
Lagerfeld was a master sketcher, a key part of the exhibit. His attention to detail, impeccable craftsmanship, unparalleled.
There's a sense of humor, there's a lot of joy in the clothing. It's remarkable.
This quote, something Lagerfeld believed until his death in 2019, not ever wanting his work featured in a museum. Andrew explains.
Karl hated looking backwards. And to me, it was about his mortality. He didn't like the fact that to be reminded of his mortality.
The exhibit, Karl Lagerfeld, A Line of Beauty, is open now and runs till July 16th. Halle Bailey made a splash at the Met Gala. The Little Mermaid star wore a gorgeous white Gucci ensemble with a sparkling semi-sheer lace halter neck gown and dramatic ruffled cape that looked like jellyfish tendrils or even coral. She's talked about her style journey in a joint interview for Bazaar with her older sister, Chloe. They attended the Met Gala together in 2021 and said fashion is about taking risks, making mistakes, and embracing oneself from the inside out. And Halle's sister Chloe is also busy making movies. She's currently starring in the new musical comedy streaming on Peacock, Praise This.
Hey, baby. Oh my gosh. I've always wanted a sister, and here you are.
We're cousins, Jess.
Cousins, sisters, it's the South. It doesn't even matter.
In Praise This, Grammy-nominated singer Chloe Bailey of the popular R&B duo Chloe and Halle stars as Sam, who dreams of being a musical superstar, but her family sends her to Atlanta to join her cousin's struggling praise team in the lead up to a national competition. Angelica Washington plays her cousin.
The chorus is the strongest part. If we lose the rest and tie up the loose ends, it could be really special. Lose the rest?
Hi,
your background is so cute.
I love you guys, and I love the sister-cousin energy so much in this movie. And I love just from watching your Instagrams and your posts that you guys really connected. So how much fun did you have shooting this movie?
A blast. The most. Yeah. The most fun. Too much fun, probably.
Never too much.
Never too much.
Every team has their lane, and our lane is real church music. How about you learn an actual gospel song first?
In the process of singing gospel music, Chloe's character Sam discovers the true purpose of a praise team in Chloe's first starring role.
Prodigal bros, look away.
What a mighty God we serve.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
This is the first film where I actually got to have music be just as important as the acting within the film. And it's the first film I've starred in, so it was pretty cool. And I'm so proud of the cast and the crew, and we really put so much love into this, and I hope people can pick up on that when they watch it.
Another show, Yellowstone, will take its final bow this November, but Paramount has ordered a sequel. There are reports the studio is trying to sign Matthew McConaughey. The new series is slated to premiere on the Paramount Network and then on the Paramount Plus app in December. A comedy becomes a tragedy. SNL is going dark during the writers' strike. Since writers working on television shows and movies cannot cross picket lines, shows like SNL are forced to close up shop. The producers had 3 more episodes slated for the year, with former cast member Pete Davidson, then Succession's Kieran Culkin slated to host. Actress Jennifer Coolidge was set to host the May 20th finale. This would have been her first ever time hosting SNL. Honoring Princess Leia on Star Wars Day, May the 4th, of course. Billie Lourd accepted the Hollywood Walk of Fame star on behalf of her late mother, Carrie Fisher. She was joined by Mark Hamill, a.k.a. Luke Skywalker. Star Wars fans C-3PO and R2-D2 and a stormtrooper were there for the unveiling as well. The star is near the historic El Capitan Theater, just a few feet away from Hamill's, and across the street from the star of her legendary mother, Debbie Reynolds. The first official trailer for Dune Part 2 has dropped. Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya return in starring roles in the long-awaited second installment of the sweeping sci-fi series. We also get a peek at Austin Butler with shaved eyebrows and a bald head as the villainous Fade Rauta. There's a glimpse of Oscar Isaac, Dave Bautista returns, and Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken will be joining the ensemble cast. Dune Part 2 arrives in theaters November 3rd. When we come back, Taylor Swift's new Sweetheart. We take a look. Welcome back to The Lot. Taylor Swift reportedly has a new man. I am so excited for her. Sources say they're ready to go public soon. Taylor has known him for some time. They even dated briefly almost a decade ago. Here's the cover of The Sun that got all the Swifties buzzing online. The headline, Taylor's new Brit love. She loves the Brits. Her exes, Joe Alwyn, Harry Styles, Tom Hiddleston, they're all British. So who's the rumored new man in Taylor's life? Matt Healy is the frontman of the band 1975. He's the one singing in the middle. The Sun reports they are madly in love. If the rumor is true, we wish them the best and may they make beautiful music together. Well, Ed Sheeran just got the best news in court. He scored a legal win. A federal jury in New York ruled Sheeran did not steal key components of Marvin Gaye's classic song, Let's Get It On, for his own song, Singing Out Loud. The estate of Ed Townsend, who wrote the song that Marvin Gaye sung, sued Sheeran, saying he infringed on the song's copyright. Following the verdict, Sheeran said it looks like he won't have to retire from his day job. And that's good news for us because he just dropped his new album and he's about to go on tour. And your first look at the incredible story of the couple who hid Anne Frank and others during World War II.
I know it's a bad idea, but how can I help myself?
Ed Sheeran is taking a show to some smaller venues during his new U.S. tour, so he can play his new album, Subtract, the entire way through with a full band in an intimate setting. Tickets for the 14-stop tour are now on sale, and his new album, Subtract, just dropped. And the new National Geographic limited series, A Small Light, tells the story of how Miep Gies and her husband helped hide Anne Frank's family and others during World War II.
What I'm asking you to do is dangerous. If you get caught, you could get arrested, or even worse. I need your help hiding my family.
Liev Schreiber stars as Otto Frank, Belle Powell co-stars as Miep, and Billy Boulay plays Anne. A Small Light just debuted on National Geographic and streaming on Hulu. The final volume in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie trilogy just blasted into theaters. Pop culture expert Victor Lucas weighs in.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm Star-Lord.
After teaming up, saving the day a couple times, and possibly causing part of the Infinity War, we're learning more about our family of heroes who reunite for the last time.
He left out some important information, but that is the gist of it.
I'm a huge fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and what James Gunn, the writer and director of this series, has been able to do with Marvel. He really does feel like he's crafted his own corner of the galaxy, the Marvel universe, and he's done such a great job making these characters that, frankly, I knew nothing about.
Someday, I'm gonna make great machines that fly.
We're digging into Rocket Raccoon's backstory and his history, and there's a lot of trauma in there. I think there's a tremendous amount of emotion tied to this movie, in addition to, you know, the cool soundtrack and the laughs and the sort of sarcastic streak.
I want you all to know that I'm grateful to fight beside my friends.
Marvel is just this expanding universe. They've got to try new things. That's part of the idea of growing all of these different characters and all these different franchises. Not all of them have resonated with everybody out there, but I think people that have been along for the ride are definitely going to feel the impact of this movie, and I think it's going to be a massive hit. I really do.
Are you ready for one last ride?
Can't wait to see it. George Foreman is much more than a boxer. He's an entrepreneur with a great grill, of course, the George Foreman grill, and he's also a lesson in perseverance.
Listen to me, George. You got a punch like I've never seen. But in every battle, the greatest foe that we will combat isn't here.
Chris Davis and Forrest Whitaker star in Big George Foreman, the miraculous story of the once and future heavyweight champion of the world.
George should change his name from Foreman to Poor Man.
To hurt.
What's my name now, fool?
Foreman is the new heavyweight champion of the world.
Davis plays Foreman from teenage to middle age.
I wanted to make sure that when his family and his friends watched it, that they felt like they were seeing some truth there too.
I didn't think that would be possible because this guy went out and gained all that weight. And he came back as the big old lovable bald-head George Foreman.
Whitaker remembers the era of Foreman, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and Ken Norton vividly.
This is when, like, the heavyweight champion of the world was like not just an icon, like a giant. I remember sitting there with my dad, and my brothers, my cousins, watching the fight and talking about it.
The fight was the legendary Rumble in the Jungle.
That's all you got, George?
He said, "That's all you got, George?" What a frightening moment that was. And I relived all those things in that movie. Chris Davis did a fine job.
The most important thing for him was the very moment of the Jimmy Young and the transformation that he has, the spiritual awakening in Puerto Rico.
But even after his newfound faith and retirement, he couldn't stay out of the ring.
It is my destiny to win the heavyweight championship belt again.
At age 45, why not?
It's now or it's never.
An incredible story. When we come back, the superstar who inspired John Travolta to go bald. Welcome back to The Lot. Pitbull recently went on Howard Stern's podcast, revealing he's part of the reason why John Travolta went bald. Pitbull said when Travolta showed up to his handprint ceremony, he asked him if he could shave his head. Of course, Pitbull gave him permission. It turned out to be a win-win for both of them. Travolta has said his life is easier with no hair to keep up with, and Pitbull tells Stern he's happy to know he can still look great like Travolta when he's older.
I just wanted to thank you for...
I gotta have faith.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced their 2023 class of inductees, and the late George Michael is one of the members of the class. Michael made it as a first-time nominee. Other inductees include Sheryl Crow, Missy Elliott, Willie Nelson, and Rage Against the Machine. The induction ceremony will take place November 3rd at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn.
In a galaxy far, far away, prepare for a reboot like never before.
This is a trailer for the Galactic Menagerie, a faux movie created by the Curious Refuge channel on YouTube. There are lots of pastels and symmetry, quirky humor, and celebrity cameos, like Owen Wilson appears as Darth Vader, but it's all AI generated. Jane Fonda says getting older isn't something to be scared of, but to look forward to. The accomplished actress is 85 and says she's the happiest she's ever been. She says it's thanks to lifelong friends and keeping her chin up through the tough days. Fonda recently recovered from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and has experienced a lot of loss. But now that she's older, she just says to herself, a bad thing happens and you think, well, that's happened before. I'm fine, I'll get over it. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. The coming-of-age adaptation of Judy Blume's 1970 novel is now in theaters, and one of its young stars chatted with The Lot's Kalina Estrinos.
Chin up! We must! We must! We must increase our bust! We must! We must! We must increase our bust!
Okay, I love the enthusiasm there. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is a coming-of-age comedy, I should say, based on the 1970s novel of the same name. Joining me now is one of the stars from the film, Amari Alexis Price. You were laughing when we were looking at that video, but I saw you. You were getting really into it. Your character was right there.
I was getting very into it.
Don't be embarrassed by it by any means. It was a great clip. I want to talk about your character. I want to talk about you. You are lovely. You are stunning.
Thank you so much.
The trailer looks amazing. I'm so excited to see this. You play Janie.
I do.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your character. And I feel like when I was looking through, and obviously familiar with the book too, you have a close-knit group of girlfriends that go through life together.
Yes.
So what was it like to you to embody that character?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Janie, her character, she's a very bubbly personality, and she's a very kind person. She has this little group of friends, and Nancy is obviously, she's the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And once Margaret came to their town, they all just became this really close group of friends, and they're all such a fun little group to be around, and it's just so amazing to be a part of the group.
I love it. So, you know, something that I noticed too is there are some serious topics, right? You guys are talking about, you know, boys going through puberty, though, religion too. So what was it like for you guys all to get together and kind of go through those topics off screen and also on screen?
Well, off screen, I personally wasn't going through any of those changes yet.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I really related to was being Christian, just like my character, and also growing. It actually really wasn't that awkward to talk about, well, at least for me on my part. It wasn't that bad to talk about because we all, just the way that we all did things together and the way that we acted together, it didn't really make it very difficult to talk about it. And for me, I was so young, so if I had anything to say, I would just say it. So I don't really remember like the things that I would say, but I do know that it wasn't really that awkward for me.
And I feel like that should be your motto your entire life. If you have something to say, just say it. As long as it's nice, of course.
Yes.
Well, what do you think, or why do you think this movie is going to be so important? I feel like it will be very important for kids and teens.
I think it'll be important because I feel like it'll show young females how it's okay to go through all these different changes and how it's perfectly normal, how every female goes through all these changes as well. So maybe it can make them feel more comfortable going through these changes, knowing that they're not alone.
We ran out of time already, but I do want to ask you, what was your favorite movie from shooting on the set?
My favorite scene?
Your favorite moment.
My favorite moment. I really liked shooting the party scene because there were so many snacks and I got to eat so much.
I love that. Favorite snack?
Peanut butter jelly.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
In an instant. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank
I really
you so much for having me.
That's one of my favorite snacks too. Now, she talked a lot about changes, and speaking of them, during the pandemic, Zoe ListerJones started to fantasize and write about living different lives, and it led to the script for Slip, now streaming free on Roku.
I didn't want to wake up this morning. I just always feel like being asleep, like life is a dream.
Zoe ListerJones stars in and created the new comedy streaming on Roku, Slip. She plays May Cannon, a woman who travels through parallel universes, trying on different versions of her life on her way back to her partner and herself. And I love that they all start out so wonderfully, or there's some element where it's like, I would love this life. And then reality sets in. So it's like, oh, okay, my real life isn't that bad. So you brought in that aspect of reality where nothing is ever perfect.
Yeah. I mean, you know, fantasy is a great coping mechanism for me, especially. But when you play out those fantasies, I mean, generally they're never going to live up to your expectations. And so, especially for comedic effect in the show, I think seeing that every relationship is going to come with so many complications is a good lesson to learn. But it's also fun to like experience all of those different lives. And I think for my character on the show, it's about trying on all these different versions of herself and seeing which feels the most authentic, which is something I think we all do, even though we're not necessarily jumping from world to world.
You all right, babe? You're shaking.
Listen, I'm gonna get some air.
May meets many love interests on her journey, including Emmy-winning actress and Schitt's Creek star Emily Hampshire. I love like trying on different lives. It's such a cool concept.
Yeah, I mean, that you just said it. It was so amazing to be part of such a cool project and so well written. Like I read all the scripts, I binged them, which is not a thing I do. I don't love reading scripts, especially the ones like there's a lot of episodes I'm not in, but I binged them all because they were so good. And it's so relatable. Like I've been married. I wonder that you always wonder, is the grass greener? And like, I think part of why I became an actor is because I'm not satisfied with this one life. I want to know what it's like in all the circumstances. So it's just brilliant what Zoe did.
It's a great show. I'm Suzanne Marquez. That's a wrap for this edition of The Lot. Be sure to check us out next week. As I go in the kitchen with Danny Trejo, we're whipping up recipes from his new cookbook. We're going to leave you with a look inside of Trejo's Cantina in Hollywood. I'll see you next week on The Lot.